everybody. So we're going to be talking about TikTok and the ban that kind of got decided on today, but we're going to let people file in the chat area. Just say hi. Let us know, what are your questions? My name's Benji Travis. Real quick, we haven't started yet, but we're going to let people come in. Let me know, what is your questions about the TikTok ban and anything related to it, and of course about YouTube, because the reason I'm doing this is because I know a lot of creators, especially TikTokers, are considering YouTube as a place they're going to go to. So stand-up gamer, what's going on? And
it's a great comment, by the way, because one of the things that people talk about is that one of the ways you could download TikTok is through a VPN.
Oh, because oh yeah, that's a hack. Yeah. So, and just to give you guys some context, why the TikTok ban isn't the final end of TikTok is because if TikTok gets banned by the government, it doesn't mean that people can't use it if, one, they still have it on their phone, right? Exactly. Two, they're using a VPN. A VPN, for people that don't know, it connects through other country's server. And then three, if they're literally in another country. So if you're in another country, you're fine, except for India, because they banned it a long time ago.
Very true.
Which I think says a lot about what is going to happen to TikTok and who the beneficiary is of it.
100%. 100%. I mean, we're going to dive into it a lot today. And there's some people filing in already talking about how TikTok gave them opportunities as small content creators. We're going to be touching on that a ton today. And I think that one of the interesting things to me is that it'll have effects not only in the creator economy, but in the broader culture, right? Like TikTok, for all it's worth, did rewire American culture. And that's going to be profound in the way that we talk to one another, one way or the other.
For sure. And by the way, talking about 2025 and video influencers, hey, I'm back and I'm here to help you guys crush it on YouTube. Fun fact about today that you told me about is today's the day everyone quits their New Year's resolutions.
They call it Quitter's Day.
They give up on their goals. So talk about that, because I think that has a lot to do with what we're talking about today in terms of TikTok and YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I really believe that 2025 is going to be a year where we see a shift, not only in terms of this TikTok thing, but in general towards these longer form platforms. Creators coming up through the pandemic who were maybe on short form are at the point in their careers where long form is starting to make a lot more sense. I mean, the reality is that people make more money making long form content, right? And I think that as people kind of progress in their short form careers, along with the shakiness of the short form landscape, we're going to see that a lot. So maybe people have resolutions. We've talked to a bunch of creators lately that have the resolution that 2025 is the year that they're going to start vlogging, they're going to go long form, they're going to commit to YouTube in particular, right? And if today's Quitter's Day, maybe you've started, maybe you haven't, and you're quitting on this Friday, which is the day that most people quit their resolutions.
And the day that TikTok's getting banned, basically.
Literally forcing you to quit potentially. Huge, profound effects about that. Just huge.
I know a lot of creators, especially TikTokers, want to be on YouTube, but they don't know how to be on YouTube. Yeah. Especially short form. They think that they're just going to upload their TikToks to shorts, but it doesn't really work out. They don't go as viral. The audiences don't really shift over. So we're going to talk about all that. I just want to give some shout outs because I haven't been on video influencers in a long time, at least a live stream. And I appreciate everybody. Riss Rose Dose, what's going on? Yes, old school. I'm old school too. I've been doing this for 16 years now. And
what's going on,
Riss
guys?
we go way back. Okay, Nucci's on here too. So yeah, you guys leave your questions in the Q&A in the comments area. We're gonna do a Q&A at the very end. So we're about to get started. We just wanted to let people come in before we tackle this topic of the TikTok ban, about where to go, and about YouTube. And I think we're ready to start. Let's see if there's some people. We got Adasia says, "What's happening?" What's happening is we're live. We're talking about TikTok and the ban, because literally today something happened at the government level that is probably going to push TikTok to getting banned. We've been waiting for 2 years. So that is exactly what's happening. Are there any other questions we want to answer real quick? Ristro says, "Oh, yay, Benji is back. I am back." And then the Marine from Texas says, "Let me jump on YouTube now then." You definitely should, because super biased. Of course, I wrote this book called YouTube secrets. This was supposed to be called video influencers because I thought all platforms, including TikTok, would be video dominant, but we quickly changed it to YouTube for a very good reason. We're going to talk about that today. But if there was ever a time to jump on to this platform that we watch videos on, literally, and has both short form content like YouTube Shorts and long form, which is everything from your normal, searchable type of videos to podcasts, right now is the time. It's never been easier, but it can be very difficult. So I guess without further ado, any last thoughts before we get started, and let me get a drink?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, the effect of TikTok coming into our culture was already profound from a average viewer's perspective. Maybe you're a viewer, maybe you're on TikTok, right? It was even more profound from a creator's perspective, right? If you're a part of this channel, you know that Benji has been advocating for creators for much longer than he even had written that book. I mean, like you said, there's a reason that YouTube was what he and Sean landed on when they wrote that book. And I think that the amazing sort of profound, prescient view that you and Sean had when you were writing that, when you were really into this video influencers piece, was that YouTube is the place to be, that you made a bet on YouTube. And it's crazy that that is still the case to this day, that it is in my opinion, better platform to be on than ever before.
There you go. I do agree with that. And even though I'm biased, the evidence is in the numbers. Okay, you guys, we're going to get started. We're going to be talking about everything related to the TikTok ban when Neutrally is ready. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. TikTok is finally getting banned and creators are freaking out. Now, we've known about the TikTok ban for a long time, but today something happened that's probably going to determine the fate of TikTok. The government listened to the arguments from TikTokers, from actual TikTok, and they have leaned towards actually banning it. So shutting down this platform. And today we're going to be talking about what that actually means. We're going to start off by talking about why it's getting banned, what's been happening the last year or so, and then what happened today that's going to make it so that it's not going to be available on the App Store to download, and what this means for creators who are TikTokers. Where are people going to go? And especially if you're a creator that wants to start YouTube, you're definitely going to listen, because I believe YouTube will be one of the biggest beneficiaries, even if there's other platforms that inherit a lot of viewers. So today we're going to get started. By the way, I want to give a shout out to Neutrally, who's on the 1s and 2s. What's up, Neutrally?
Hey, Neutrally.
He's going to be looking at the comments, so leave your questions on this topic of TikTok and YouTube here in 2025. And I've also got my friend and a fellow creator who started a YouTube channel, is blowing up right now, Austin Hall. Austin, what is going on with TikTok and where should we start? And I guess, like, what should creators know about the TikTok ban?
I am always a fan with starting with the history of something. Now, it's not going to be a boring history. We're just going to talk about the last 2 years, but it's really a story of how we got to this point where this is even a possibility, right? And I think the best place to start is in the last year or so. Just a little before, I think that if you are a creator, you're probably feeling a little like that scene from The Office. I love The Office, right? Michael Scott is talking, I'm sorry, about getting an operation, right? And saying that he wants to go one direction and then he has to go the other direction. It's snip, snap, snip, snap. You're changing direction over and over again. As a TikTok creator, you might be feeling that way. As a TikTok user, you might be feeling that way. Oh, it's going to get banned. It's not going to get banned. It's going to get banned. It's not going to get banned, right? That's for a bunch of different reasons. But I do think it's important to know that the thing that happened a year ago makes this a lot more serious this time around. And it's the reason that the Supreme Court heard arguments today about this thing. So rewind to a year ago. About a year ago, in 2024, in April, I think it was, there was an act that passed both the House and the Senate and was signed into law by the president, which means that it is a law that basically said TikTok will get banned. App stores cannot sell this app to anyone. They can't let anybody download it. TikTok is effectively done in the United States unless TikTok's owner sells that company to someone else. For all intents and purposes, that means that it was going to go into effect. And that means that in 9 days, TikTok is going away from the United States. Now, TikTok scored a really small win at the beginning of December, which was that, hey, we're going to get heard in front of the Supreme Court saying, listen, you're infringing on our free speech rights and these users' free speech rights. The Supreme Court should weigh in on this and stop this ban from happening, especially before there's a presidential transfer of power, right? And so that's where it led us to today. The ban was going to come into effect on the 19th, no matter what, unless the Supreme Court said that they were going to stop that ban from happening.
Which was supposed to be today.
Which was supposed to be.
And was today.
And those arguments literally just stopped. And the consensus, and having listened to it all this morning while I was eating my breakfast and drinking my coffee, is that the court does not seem like they have any interest in preserving TikTok in this country. They don't think it's their role. There was sort of this bipartisan groundswell, and I know that you'd be interested in talking about that, in terms of banning TikTok. And so importantly, what that means is that the Supreme Court's not standing in their way. The law is already passed, which means that the Supreme Court has to weigh in still, but for all intents and purposes, the clock is ticking.
Yeah. And the big takeaway is TikTok is going to get banned. Now, the reason TikTok is even getting banned in the first place is because the government felt that there's some security issues with TikTok and its relation to the Chinese government. We're not going to get into politics, but that was basically their argument. On the TikTok and creator side, their argument was it was infringing on their freedom of speech. I think as a creator, I can say selfishly, creators want to protect their pocketbooks, right? And in fact, I think there's an argument that's even more important than how they make their money. They're going to lose their influence.
Seriously.
Now, let's be clear. TikTok getting banned doesn't mean it'll go away right away, but it's going to take a while because it'll still be on your phones. If you're using a VPN, you can still get access to it. Or if you're in another country, TikTok will still go on. But that American audience won't be there, and there won't be a lot of growth, and there's going to be issues with the app with no updates allowed because it's not on the App Store or wherever you get your app. But the security issue is it. The thing that made me believe it's definitely going to get banned was, I don't know the date, but there was a group of people that presented to all of our lawmakers what was the reality of TikTok. I think it was both on the security side and the access to private information and sharing it with the Chinese government potentially, right? Allegedly. And the other side was they're talking about how it might not be good for our youth. I think there was an aspect of that in relation to the private information and what it's being shared and who it's being shared to. And that freaked out everybody in the room. So you're talking these people in government who make decisions on our laws all walked out, and as a group, which, you know, in our politics right now is not very common, they decided this needs to get banned. And that to me was like, okay, it's definitely gonna get banned. And then today, after what you just talked about, it's definitely gonna get banned. And I think the creators who have kind of been fearful of this now know that TikTok might not be a good place to grow, you know, continue their audience growth. And now they have to look at other platforms. Any thoughts on that before we talk about, you know, what is next for creators?
The core of the thing that the Supreme Court was talking about today was about free speech, basically, right? It's the balance between the United States self-interest of protecting their citizens from a foreign influence, right, versus the free speech of a company and potentially the users, right? The interesting thing today was that there were three attorneys that represented different parties in front of the Supreme Court. The first one was TikTok, right? The first attorney was trying to defend TikTok and their ability to share user videos. The second one, for our purposes, was even more interesting, which was TikTok creators, who was also working on the side of trying to save TikTok. And the last one was basically the United States government that was trying to argue it as well. And I think that those three constituencies are the things that are interesting. But even more important than that is that the reason one of the reasons that those lawmakers came out of that in a bipartisan, almost 50-0 vote, I think is what it was, inside of that committee, was that there was some sort of secret information shared about like propaganda potentially and other things like you talked about with access to youth and data sharing as well. And those are all the rationales for why the government is passing this law. But more importantly, I mean, Who cares about all of that? It seems like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
TikTok is going to get banned.
And now with that being said, the real question I think for anybody listening to this is what should creators do, especially TikTokers? Now, it's not just YouTube, right? We've got YouTube Shorts, we've got Instagram Reels. Honestly, I feel like there's short form on every platform.
Yes.
X, Pinterest, believe it or not, has a function where you can connect TikTok to your Pinterest board or whatever. So there's all these options, but the number one thing is, how do I get my audience to these other platforms? And it's not easy. The reason it's not easy is because people are using TikTok for a specific reason. There's a certain behavior because that's what that platform is good at. And it's purely short form. I know that TikTok has longer videos, but when you go to another platform like YouTube, for example, it's a mixed bag, right? You got long form, you got people listening to podcasts, you got people watching YouTube Shorts. Instagram, they've got the Reels, which is like TikToks, but there's a social aspect to that we're going to get into, and then on and on and on, right? Other platforms have their purposes. So that's why it's not easy. But you know what? On the flip side of it, I feel like almost everybody that is on TikTok probably does use YouTube. It's just not that common for them to go from their TikTok to YouTube and just start subscribing to your channel. So I think it's worth it. You're seeing, by the way, I wish I could pull up these videos, all the TikTokers that are freaking out that it's going to get banned. You better believe the reason they're freaking out on camera and posting those is because they're hoping people will go to their YouTube channels and subscribe there. The good thing to know is they're probably already there.
Yeah.
My big suggestion for any platform, and this includes YouTube, start treating it like you're a complete newbie. Upload content to that platform natively the way people want. Now, the good thing about TikTok, right? Short form videos. These are the vertical videos that are 60 seconds, higher, lower, whatever. You can still upload that to YouTube Shorts, right? But think about that platform and what the viewers use it for. Now, for the sake of this conversation, we're talking about YouTube. People use YouTube as a search engine first. That's how it is. Secondly, they go on there for just entertainment and just videos related to the things they're interested in. So suggested. But both the search and suggested is going to be based off of where your video ranks. The difference from TikTok is fully algorithm. So it just swipe, whatever TikTok feeds you, right? With YouTube, there's still a little bit of control and I would say intention. Is that accurate? And is there anything you would add to it or any other thoughts on how to get your audiences over to YouTube or another platform, or how to think about being on another platform, especially YouTube, when it comes to if you're an actual creator with an audience right now?
I want to caveat something really quick before I even dive into that, which is that you and I are extremely biased because we are true believers in long form as the platform that is most sustainable for creators in particular, right? I started a YouTube channel at the beginning of last year, almost exactly a year ago. I've had a couple of really big wins in the last couple of months, but most importantly, I have committed to YouTube first and foremost and to growing on YouTube natively, right? I didn't go for the quick growth on TikTok or even Shorts in particular, right? In fact, my short strategy is sort of off the wall and random. It's more community based rather than it is growth based, right? I didn't go to TikTok and try and transfer an audience over to my YouTube channel. I said, I'm going to start on YouTube and grow from zero. Now, for a creator, that's probably pretty scary to hear, right? But I think the reality is that we see over and over again, you were talking about the creators that were, some of them were crying. It's emotional. Yeah. I really feel for them, right? They built an audience. They spent time. I don't know what I would do if I lost my YouTube channel, right? Like that would devastate me, right? But the reality is that a lot of people don't make that jump. There's a bunch of different reasons why, and that's what you were getting into, which is that, number one, what someone expects from you as a short form creator and from their short form experience is not the same thing they expect from their long form experience. It's just not. People go in and people are smart. They go into these apps and have an expectation for what's going to happen in one versus the other. But let's talk about that user journey, right? Don't even talk about it from a viewer journey. Think about it from your perspective. Okay, let's start with YouTube because YouTube was first. When you go to youtube.com, when you open the YouTube app on your phone, what's the very first thing that you see on your feed? What are the
couple
options?
suggestions? Usually shorts is on the top these days, even though
Yeah.
I don't watch a lot of shorts. I do watch some shorts, but YouTube is suggesting, hey, you should watch these, and then you have to click on one to watch it.
Exactly. And that's what you were getting at with the intentionality thing. It'll serve you up like if you go into a restaurant, it's like serving you a menu. It's like they're constantly refining this menu over and over and over.
For you, right?
For you, exactly. And you get to choose which one you go. Maybe it's like a little taste test. You go and you check it out. Or maybe you drop into shorts, or maybe you drop into long form. You see what this video is all about. You get to kind of go in and be very intentional about what you do. But the important thing is you're not actually greeted with content. You're greeted with packaging. You're greeted with a menu to choose from. Now let's think about the other experience. By the way, this was not unique to TikTok. But on TikTok, when you open it up, the first thing that you see, it's not a menu of options. It is content that starts playing right away.
And only one.
And only one. You get no choice, actually, other than to open the app, right? The reason I said that we've seen this before is like this is what Instagram does with a feed. It's a little different. There's little things that refine it a little bit. It's easier to scroll on Instagram right away and get to something that you're interested in. But TikTok is so good that they're so confident that they're going to serve you the right meal right away, right? And so from a user's perspective, that lack of choice seems very simple and maybe nitpicky and small, but it's actually really profound, right? That's from a user's perspective, they're thrown right into the content, and the only thing that they have to choose to do is to stop scrolling when they see something that's interesting to them, rather than intend to choose something. Now let's flip it and think about it from a creator side. The reason why I chose to grow on YouTube instead of starting on TikTok is because I wanted to develop the muscle that it takes to grow on YouTube, right? In particular, what I would argue the most important thing is or one of the most important things is the title and thumbnail. It's something that most TikTok creators don't really have to think about in their approach to the platform, right? But on YouTube, again, think about that user experience. If they're seeing something on the menu, your title and thumbnail, and they're not choosing it, you're not getting a view. And so making that jump from short form to long form is more than just the content. I actually think a lot of short form creators would kill in YouTube content. Where I think a lot of short form creators struggle with is making that jump to that small little twist, which is grabbing a user's attention through the packaging. And I think that there's more than that, and we can dive into it a little bit. But that's just one small example about why it's hard to make that transition and what short form creators can kind of learn from the YouTube experience, which is that you're going and choosing something rather than just being thrown on your plate.
Totally. There's a couple of things there. Number one, with TikTok, you're completely reliant on the algorithm helping you get discovered. On YouTube, you can work with the algorithm to get discovered. So there's a little bit more control and influence. See, I feel like with TikTokers, they're always chasing the next trend or challenge. They got to use this certain song, or there's a certain format within that short form, type of content. So you almost just are forced to become something you're not. Versus on YouTube, you can become what you are, and there's an audience there for you. I feel like, and I know this is probably one of the difficulties for somebody on TikTok. One of the number one complaints: I don't go as viral. I don't grow as fast. I don't have as big of an audience. It's because a subscriber on YouTube is way more valuable, in my opinion, than a follower on TikTok, because how many people on TikTok just follow somebody that comes across, they're scrolling, right, without really knowing anything about them, versus on YouTube. And I know that there's a subscribe for short form content similar to TikTok and long form, but I feel like there's definitely a little more intention in that subscribe to a channel. Even just the word of follow versus subscribe. Like, I think about subscribe as like subscribing to a magazine and you have to pay money. It kind of goes back to that. And in our brains, we kind of think that way, at least on YouTube, regardless of your age and generation. On TikTok, that even that word follow, I'm just going to follow them, just like you do on Facebook, just like you do really anywhere else. And so the last thing I would say is, let's get down to what's the benefit of TikTok getting banned. Right? The benefit is this: if you've ever been on the fence about going to YouTube, now the government made the choice, at least if you're an American creator, right? you literally don't have a choice.
Yeah.
TikTok is going to get banned. It's only going to have a certain shelf life to it, and you have to go somewhere else. So if YouTube is away, and what you said is really key, the way you succeed on YouTube is you go all in. You don't treat it like a secondary platform or like one of many different platforms you spread your content, even though you still can, right? With short form content, you got to go to all in because that's kind of what it takes to learn it. Now, I do want to talk about myself right now and my perspective. I've been doing YouTube for 16 years now. I've done all types of content, worked with all types of creators, but my wife and I are known as vloggers. And even though I'm a vlogger, I inevitably had to learn about YouTube in general. So I've been on this vlogging kick. But the cool thing about vlogging is you still have to follow all the rules to succeed. So if you're interested in YouTube and you want to do it through vlogging, go check out vloggingacademy.com down below. We're going to talk a little bit more about it later, maybe during the Q&A. But that's for any of those TikTokers that are thinking about YouTube and are interested in deploying vlogging for their content, which I actually think is way easier than any other way because anybody can do it. It's a lot easier, and you still have to apply the principles of success on principles of success on YouTube as a vlogger as you would any other type of creator on YouTube.
It really is the best way to get views. Not all views are created equal. If there's one thing I think that we can learn here, we should talk about average view durations here in a second. Not all views are created equal, right? In fact, you want to talk about AVDs right now? I feel like that would be a great transition. So one thing about the Supreme Court arguments, just to tie us back to where we started here, was that there's this one judge on the Supreme Court. His name is Justice Alito. And I was listening to it this morning. And again, there were these three different sort of constituencies that were represented by the different lawyers, right? That second one was the most interesting to me because they represented creators. I was like, oh, that's interesting. The creators' free speech rights, right? The funny thing is just how little it seemed like anyone in that court cared about creators. Now, it's probably not an easy thing to hear as a creator. It's not an easy thing for me to kind of consume. But having been immersed in this world for a long time now, it's just almost laughable how little they're thinking about that in this scenario. And I bring that up not to be glib about it or not to be sort of, happy-go-lucky about things, right? But because it's profound in the sense that what it means is that we as creators have to make the right moves given what is going to happen, not what we want to happen, right? What you're saying is that the time is now to start on YouTube, right? The long form, going to long form from short form has never been a better proposition because of the uncertainty that this is creating at this moment in time. But there are other reasons too that it's important to go from short form to long form. And that's where we get to these average view duration things. One thing you and I have been talking about a lot in the last year as you have been going through this resurgence of vlogging on your channel is the importance of not the view, but the average view duration. It's just one metric, right? But I think it gets at this bigger picture, right? So what are the stats? I remember you were at a dinner yesterday. You were talking to somebody about it. Like, tell me that story again about what you kind of came up with.
Well, and this is kind of tying the whole TikTok to YouTube topic right now, and what makes a difference. What's the difference of YouTube versus TikTok, which is about to get banned? The average TikTok view duration, so the amount of time somebody watches the average TikTok is literally 5 seconds. Okay, so if you do the math in an hour, I think it's like 700 plus. Now, I think that number can be really extreme, but even if you're watching 100 TikToks, right? Like in an hour, in an hour, right? Yeah. How many of those TikToks are you really remembering?
Yeah.
This is part of the problem of transferring or getting your followers to go from TikTok to YouTube. They don't actually know who you are. So if you're a TikTok creator, you probably have had this challenge where they don't even know your name. They know your brand. They know what you do. They know the type of content you do, but they don't know who you are. And that is the difference. This is why it's probably arguably easier for YouTubers to get their audiences to follow them on other platforms. Still not easy because, again, different platforms. Versus YouTube. So going back to audience view duration, average view of a TikTok video, 5 seconds for YouTube. Right now, just based off of our research, 2 minutes. Now that's setting aside YouTube Shorts, okay, which is like TikToks on YouTube. 2 minutes. Now, I know for me personally, my average view duration on my vlogs on YouTube is 10 minutes. But if you think about just 2 minutes, right? How many TikToks can you watch in 2 minutes? That's, what is that, 60?
Yeah.
Right? 60 TikToks. You're in the same 2 minutes that the average YouTuber is getting someone to watch their content. In that same amount of time, the average viewer could be watching 30 TikToks in that 2 minutes. So think about, as a viewer, which one you're going to be more connected to. Are you going to be connected to the one that you watch for 2 minutes, all their content? Remember, that's just an average. Or are you going to be connected to one of the 60 creators? I mean, it's just very simple, objective observation that you're going to probably at least remember or recall the creator you watch for 2 minutes versus one of the 60 you watch on TikTok.
I mean, and I just want to tie it back to people's experiences. I can only speak from my own experience. I don't like to scroll on TikTok. I've gone through phases where I've deleted it off my phone. Maybe I won't now, just in case it does get banned and I want to watch TikTok again. We'll see. But in my own experience, you know, I might scroll there for a while, right? And over the week, I might see hundreds of TikToks potentially, right? How many of those people do I remember? Maybe one, maybe two, sometimes zero, right? Whereas on YouTube, it's actually miraculous that I almost remember every single person that I watch, partially because a lot of those people I've built deeper relationships over time. I tend to go back to the same people on YouTube. In fact, I'll search for YouTube channels just to see if someone released a new video. I'll go to my subscriptions tab. Often on my homepage, it's someone that I've already seen. Love watching Good Mythical Morning. I love going over to John Boyce and what they're doing over at Secret Base. I love to go back to the same people. And it taps into just something that's innate in human nature. The more time you spend with something, the more likely you are to like it and to want to go back to it and to develop a familiarity with it.
And
right?
YouTube is going to suggest those people's content to you. Oftentimes, say you binge watch somebody's library, you watch a whole bunch of their content on YouTube. When you go back to YouTube, their videos will pop up. Now, you could say TikTok is very similar. The difference is they're going to show you a ton of other content as well, and way more content that you didn't previously watch, but they think because of algorithms like this, you'd be super interested in. So you could argue, which one are you going to get discovered by more people on? TikTok, maybe more people, and this is why you get more followers and you grow faster.
More likes, more views.
But how many people, like what you just said, are going to go to the platform and specifically go to your channel to watch your content, sometimes on a daily basis, compared to TikTok? Well, YouTube wins that all day long. Reason we're kind of ranting on this, and I want to kind of get to like the final tips and my final thoughts on the TikTok ban, is because YouTube is just a different place.
I agree.
It actually lets you be the type of creator you want to be, right? But it might take a little bit longer to get discovered. But if you apply the principles, which, by the way, I talk about in Vlogging Academy. We're going to talk about the 3 T's, right? That you should think about every time you upload a YouTube video. You can grow. Sometimes you can grow quickly, but more importantly, you'll have a sustainable creator career. You're going to have a more stickiness with your audience. And not only are they going to come back to your channel, they're more likely to watch you year after year, including like 10 plus years. And I'm evidence of it. My wife and I, we've been vlogging for more than 10 years. We basically vlogged everything you could vlog in our life, and people still want to watch us. Also, we're still being discovered by other people, because the cool thing about a YouTube video, it's evergreen. It's a search engine. So something that was entertaining or educating or engaging 10 years ago can still have a sticking power today and get referred to people, versus TikTok. I feel like it's so competitive and it's so algorithm based. They're always showing you the latest and greatest. I'm sure there's certain, I mean, I don't know. You tell me this, Nuchely, because you're on TikTok a little bit more. In your opinion, when you go to TikTok or other people go to TikTok, do old TikToks get surfaced in that user experience when you're scrolling through?
For my For You page, no. At least everything is at least like a week old, and that's about it. Nothing about like a month or 2 months. You actually had to actively go on their profile and choose the older content.
Have you ever seen anything that's like 2 or 3 years old come on your feed before and then you recognize? That's the other thing too. Is there even a date on it? Would you even know if it was old or not?
No, it's very like hidden. It's I believe it shows you on the bottom of the TikTok video, but like yeah, 1 to 2 videos, like you said, is not evergreen like YouTube at all.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the last thing I'll say though, why YouTube is more evergreen isn't just because of how YouTube is built and the algorithm. It's actually because the way people search on YouTube. When people go on YouTube, they want to find the best content for their specific need. Yeah. And that's why if you made a video, right? Like let's just take travel and you traveled to Osaka, Japan, and you literally were going to every single one of the ramen shops in the town. And it doesn't even have to be like crazy produced, but it was just perfect somebody else that's looking for the best ramen shops in Osaka, Japan. That video could serve that need forever and ever, as long as those restaurants are still there, versus on TikTok, especially because you have limited time, there's probably so many new TikToks doing kind of the same thing, and you're just always competing. As a YouTuber, when you make a great video, it could potentially, and I know this for a fact, I have a popcorn, that making popcorn on the stove video that still gets me one of the most views on my channel, and I made that like 8 years ago. That's just how YouTube works. And the big takeaway, and I know you have something to add, as a creator going from TikTok to YouTube, you have to think like this. You have to think quality, but more importantly, quality for that specific viewer, and know that YouTube's not only a search engine that people are searching for, people want specific types of content and they're more intentional about it. They don't just rely on the algorithm to feed them whatever.
In fact, I think now would be a great time to talk about someone who has made that transition, right? In fact, Guy's in the chat, by the way. Shout out to Guy.
What's up, Guy?
And he asks, as an example, how will the ban affect a creator like your friend, Chef Matt? And I would love to talk about him a little bit. So if you want to kind of introduce him here.
Yeah, for sure. So Matt here, who's pictured with his cute cat, he was originally a TikToker. He blew up on TikTok. I would say he's one of the early TikTokers during the pandemic that just went viral, and he was a chef in the restaurants and did this short form content when he lost his restaurant job, like I think a lot of people can understand, and just did really well. But he always wanted to be on YouTube, even before TikTok. And so he was uploading to YouTube. And just this year, he really upped his YouTube game and got into vlogging and had some like crazy success because he applied some of the principles we'll be talking about today. Anything you want to say about Matt?
Well, I just want to highlight the fact that this is someone who saw the writing on the wall, actually even before the ban really, and sort of was interested in figuring out how to make that next step, which is just naturally YouTube, right? And really, I think that, I mean, you need to give yourself credit. You have been working with him, right? And talking him through, and you have, as someone who's been on this platform for a long time, been able to be a guidepost at certain points. Now, of course, give him all the credit that he deserves, right? He's the one who's making the content and making the decisions ultimately. But one of the things that you entered the year with that inspired me, and I'm sure inspired him too, is your commitment to this idea that YouTube was going to be continue to be a powerhouse of a platform, and that you had kind of found a new method that did the best of blending the old way of vlogging, which is kind of like, film everything. You kind of already had to have an audience, and the new way of making YouTube videos that are rankable, optimized, searchable, things like that, and marry them so that you have the personality and the quality, and they kind of come together in this kind of beautiful way. And I want to hear you talk about that a little bit for people who might be wanting to make that transition too.
For sure. And what I would say is the new way of vlogging just takes old school vlogging and integrates or combines it with the best principles of success with YouTube. Yeah. Okay. And especially for somebody wanting to make the transition, I just want to also highlight Matt again after I describe this. So with the new way of vlogging, instead of just vlogging everything, you do have a theme for your channel. I call this the 3 T's, okay? A theme for your channel. This is just a interest or a passion or profession, your expertise, this kind of paints the background of all your content. And you definitely want to be intentional about this, because one of the great things about YouTube is you connect with other people like you, or you want to be like.
It's the thing you want to be known for.
Exactly. And so for me on my food vlog channel, it's food. Food is a theme. Now you could say this is like a niche. The difference is it's not pigeonholed to something really small, which is one of the problems on TikTok. You had to just be this one thing and you felt trapped. With YouTube, you can be a little bit more broader. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to. If you want to be super niche on YouTube, you can. But what's nice about having a broader theme, right? So instead of me being like the Tokyo ramen guy, I'm just like the food guy, okay? You want to have that as a consideration. So what this is also going to do is to stop you from going to other themes, okay? Getting tempted by other things. Secondly, the second T, which is your topic or takeaway. Every time you vlog, you have a topic or takeaway. So a topic being, hey, if I'm a food guy, my topic is all the food I bought at Costco for my Asian dinner. Okay, this, kind of a weird topic, but that is the topic. Or the takeaway being how I cook Din Tai Fung dinner at home. That's the takeaway. So people are going to learn how to replicate Din Tai Fung dinner. It doesn't matter what it is. As long as it is within your theme, you should have that intentionality for your vlog. Because the old way of vlogging is you vlog from the beginning of your day when you woke up and brushed your teeth to when you're running errands. Maybe you're talking about, this meal you're cooking for your family and it being Din Tai Fung. Then you get into your nightly routine and then again, brushing your teeth and you go to bed. That was like the old school Casey Neistat way. Now you're isolating it to just that topic or takeaway.
Can I interject here and just say these first two T's, a theme and a topic or takeaway, those are things that if you're a short form creator, you are already good at. In fact, in a lot of ways, this is the distillation of the optimization part.
Yes.
Now, the first one, the theme, probably is a little more broad. It actually will give you more freedom in a vlogging format than you would have had on TikTok in the past. The topic or takeaway, man, you probably nailed that over and over and over again, especially if you've already found success. But I think it's the third T and the nature of that longer vlog format that makes things special. And so tell me more about what makes vlogging different in this case, beyond those first two T's.
Well, the third T is part of it. Okay, so the first one, theme. Second T, topic or takeaway. The other thing is it's just way more relaxed. It's way more personal, and it's just presented in a way for the type of viewer. I call it the couch viewer, right? Sometimes you're sitting in a computer chair or like office chair. Sometimes you're just like maybe like on a break and you're watching on your phone. You're just watching longer content. It's not as much about the scrolling. It's more about, hey, you're just relaxed and you want more of that theme and that topic. But the third T is tell a story. So tell a story. Some people get confused. Like you literally have to be a storyteller. See, vlogs is a story in itself. Yeah. You're literally just like vlogging the story of you going to cook this dinner, right? But the thing about a good story, a lot of them take longer than 60 seconds to tell. That is the difference. You're personalizing and you're creating kind of this journey with your vlog versus on TikTok or any short form, there's no room for that. Yeah. See, the strategy for TikTokers is you want to just get the most punchiest, the most specifically entertaining parts of your content into that 60 seconds. So before they extended it to 2 minutes and 3 minutes, and now I don't know, it's like 15 minutes. It was just like ADD. It was just like da 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 da. It was like exactly what you want to get your brain hooked. And then guess what? You're scrolling within 5 seconds to the next one. As on YouTube in a vlog, it's way more relaxed. So guess what happens? People tend to watch more, but it's still confined to the theme and the topic and takeaway. And so the last thing I'll say about telling a story, whether you're actually telling a story, right? Like I say, hey, one of the reasons I even cook Din Tai Fung at home is because my kids love this food. They specifically love the green beans. You know, like I remember in the beginning, it was hard to get my kids to eat vegetables. And now, because I went to Din Tai Fung, they love those green beans. I'm trying to cook this. You see, I'm telling this story and it's just painting it to be more personalized. So the final thing is, what happens to you as a creator? You have more of a connection with your audience versus on TikTok. There's no connection. You're literally, like, as you like to say, a commodity. You're literally, your content is just part of the algorithm supply of TikToks to give to a viewer versus here. Now you're starting a relationship. They're getting to know you. And then when you build that relationship, it gets to trust. Now that I know that's a lot, but if you quickly just recap this, theme for your channel, this is what you want to be known for. Topic or takeaway for every one of your vlogs. This is something that specifically you want to talk about. This is a thing that they're going to take away from it. Probably more importantly, this is what they're looking for out of YouTube when they search, or a general interest. In the last one, telling stories, this is painting a more personalized picture of that vlog that you're putting out there. Really, I say vlog because we're vloggers. Your video. Because almost all of YouTube in the beginning were vlogs, because that's all it was. That's what made it special, until we started adding crazy editors, more production, more Mr. Beast games kind of stuff. And it got like out of hand. Respect to all those people. But I'm trying to talk to the people that want to enter YouTube in the easiest manner. And vlogging is the easiest way, I believe, to get views as a beginner or even a creator going from short form to long form to get views on YouTube.
I think you've nailed it. I mean, I know you're too humble to plug it a second time, but everyone should go into the description if you're interested. There is a page where we talk about it. If you want to also go, you can click through. Benji has a webinar where he pre-recorded it, talked a lot about how he actually implements these 3 T's and why they're profound for him. You should check it out. But more importantly here, I just want to hit the nail on the head again. If you're here because you're a creator, right, that is used to making things on short form platforms, it doesn't hurt to give this a shot on YouTube. The whole point of this that I think I noticed about me that implemented it in the last year, you that implemented it in the last year, and Matt that implemented it in the last year, is that we all had other full-time things that we were doing. This was a side gig for all of us, and we all found success at the levels that was appropriate for us in those things. So it doesn't have to be this overbearing or overburdened thing, right? In fact, if you want to continue making short form videos and upload those to your channel and go to YouTube Shorts, for example, it's just a hook into the rest of your channel overall. And this allows you to make that kind of next big step, in my opinion. Going from short form into long form is one of the things that I can, especially on YouTube, imagine that makes your business more sustainable, because you're getting things like AdSense, whereas the creator fund is something that's volatile and unpredictable, right? It is more valuable because you're building a deeper connection with your audience, and everything else flows from that deep connection with your audience, right? And importantly, people just want it. And really, this vlogging method, I can only speak from my personal experience, has been sustainable for me because you've built it to be accessible through those 3 T's. And I think that if I just want to pitch it one last time, if you are making that jump as a short form creator to long form, or even if you're just getting started and want to know the best way to get started on YouTube, just to get those reps in, I think that this is the way. Vlogging is the way.
And if you don't want to take his word for it, usually pull up that image of Matt's #1 viewed vlog this year. So Matt's #1 viewed vlog video was over 500,000 views. Okay. Now he's a cook, so he's teaching, but he's doing it in a more relaxed way, kind of in a vlogging format. And the reason I wanted to highlight him finally is because why did we even start this live stream? Because we're talking about the TikTok ban. He went from TikTok to YouTube with his short form, but more importantly for this discussion, as a long form content creator. It's the hardest transition to make because you have to think about the platform a little bit differently. And it can be confusing because you're like, oh, I'll just simply upload my TikToks to YouTube Shorts and that'll be the end of it and I'll blow up. 2 different things that people are wanting out of YouTube because of shorts and long form content. And he was able to make the transition and is doing really well applying some of these principles to his content. So TikTokers can totally do it. But the last thing I would say is about the TikTok ban. The reality is we have no idea what is actually going to happen to TikTokers. You know, one of the other questions, is there going to be another platform people go to? Mark Zuckerberg, by the way, today went live on Joe Rogan, and it literally started, they published this after the court hearing was done. If you don't think there's a correlation here, I mean, you're crazy. Like he is obviously the owner. I don't even know what you would call him. He's a CEO,
he's the
right?
CEO
Of Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram. They're going to also benefit too because of Reels. Yeah. And so the reason I bring this up is we don't know where they're going. I just know that TikTokers in the States for the American audiences have to go somewhere else. Yeah. And why not just start that process right now? Why not just pick the platform, plant your flag, and go all in if you know? Because, you know, there's so many benefits to these other platforms. We're just saying specific for YouTube. And if you're going to YouTube, right, no matter what happens to TikTok, I believe there's a lot more sticking power. So this thing you call being a creator can be way more sustainable. And the way to do on YouTube is a little bit different because you have to be more intentional because the viewers are more intentional. The benefit of this, not only will they become a subscriber to want to watch your stuff daily and hopefully for years to come, you will actually have a better relationship to be able to do all the other things you want to do. And you can become the creator you feel you should be. Yeah. I mean, and we won't get into it, Austin's included. He didn't want to just do TikTok dances. I know you got good moves, right? He wanted to talk about a specific interest. By the way, he just got 70,000 views on one of his vlogs this year in this very niche interest. And the reason he was able to do it is because he was connecting with the right audience, not just the algorithm potentially putting it out. Because I would say maybe your content wouldn't do as well on TikTok, but on YouTube, it gets discovered not only by a huge amount of people, but by the right people. And that is the big takeaway for YouTube. So in the comments, you guys, leave your questions. We're about to do a Q&A. Of course, subscribe to this channel. If you're a creator, you want to know more about YouTube, and check out vloggingacademy.com. The link is down below if you're interested in not only starting a vlog channel, whether you're a brand new creator or a TikToker coming over to YouTube, but you want to learn the basic principles of success of YouTube. Okay, you guys, so we're going to do the Q&A, which is just specifically for you guys. And Nucci, why don't you find us a question? But I want to give some shout outs or specifically to Stand Up Gamer and his question. And the question was long form shorts versus vlog long form uploads. What's the ups and downs? So that's an interesting question because I've never heard it framed like that. Long form shorts versus vlog long form, meaning short form vertical videos that are longer. YouTube allows 3 minutes now. The real question is, will they just have unlimited, right? Like, so going back to Matt, he was sitting right here, like in 2021. So years ago, 4 years, it's kind of crazy. And he said, Benji, I believe one day people will watch vertical content and it'll be long form. I was like, you're crazy. And he was 100% right. Yeah. I think that that is yet to be determined. What is the benefit of any vertical video? It's just native to the way you hold your phone.
Totally.
So this is why TikTok is one. And the doom scrolling, right? The one after the other. It's just because literally how you hold your phone and how your thumb works. I'm serious.
Seriously,
Like, it really is that. Versus vlog long form uploads. I think the benefit of vlog long form is people, when they're going to watch longer videos, they watch it horizontally, right? And they're what I call the couch viewers. So they're watching now on their TVs or on a laptop. on their phones horizontally. But guess what? They probably, I don't know about you, is I put it on a stand just like this.
Yeah.
If you guys can't see this.
I got one
Yeah,
too.
right. And I want to watch it in horizontal. So I'll watch podcasts, shows, sometimes a movie. But if I want to watch a movie, it's on the TV because it's horizontal. It's widescreen. So I think that's more kind of like how people use it. What's the quick pros and cons? I think that for YouTube specifically, horizontal is just going to win for long form content right now. The con is, what if vertical content takes over YouTube as TikTok goes away and it becomes a destination for that? I don't think that's going to be the case. But that'd be my quick answer without really breaking down, because I've never heard anybody ask that. You have any difference of opinions or thoughts on that?
The more I have gotten into the creator world, the more I have thought of creators as business people, right? And I think that sometimes people get into the business because they love the art of it, and they unfortunately sometimes fall backwards into having to manage a business, which people, some people, that's like their dream and they end up loving it, right? There's a lot of people who end up doing it and they're kind of like, okay, this is just the work that's related to the actual creative part that I would rather be doing, right? And no matter who you are, the reality is that you're doing this because you probably want to make money at the end of the day, posting your content. And it's important to think about how you're going to monetize that content, right?
Yeah.
The beauty of posting on YouTube in particular, in the horizontal form, I mean, you could post it in vertical too, but the beauty of posting in a long form format on YouTube is that you get credited for those ads. You get the AdSense revenue that is sort of this underrated part of the YouTube space. And it's something that can be more sustainable if your video does end up ranking and kind of catching the algorithm and having a life of its own. It can continue to make you money over time. You talked about your popcorn video earlier. That's a great example of it. That's not necessarily the case on short form for a whole bunch of different reasons.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, again, if you're looking to grow quickly and get exposure to a bunch of different people, of course, go to short form, right? But the reality is that most creators that aren't selling their own product, aren't looking to just get exposure, aren't looking to get access to something or another, but actually want to get paid, probably makes more sense to do the thing that's going to pay you more money, right? Which is going to be long form most likely. Now, you might grow slower. You might have to be more mindful about how you approach it. But if you're starting from that as being your endpoint and kind of working backwards, then I think it makes more sense to go for the long form.
Yeah, and I think that we just have to see what happens. Yeah. Okay, who would have ever thought shorts would be a thing on YouTube?
No, seriously.
Okay, neutrally, give me the next question and who it's from.
All right, this question comes from Mike Brown. He asks, why can't another site build a similar site? Is there going to be something new to TikTok?
Yeah, that is a great question. Did you say Simon?
It's Mike Brown.
Mike Brown. I don't know where Simon came from. Okay, Mike. Sorry, I apologize for that. That's what I actually think might happen. A complete new competitor will come in that is just short form. I think there's some value in just going back to basics and just giving 60-second TikTok-like content. And I believe TikTok is already starting something like that. The reason we're talking about YouTube, Instagram, and other platforms is because that's the easiest thing because people already have it on their phone. One of the hardest things to do as a new platform is to get people to download you, right? Yeah. They already have so many apps. I don't know about you. I mean, they have so many that I don't want to download anything new. I'll use the old and kind of broken thing versus the new. Until the new is just like, obviously I have to. And that's the same with social media platforms. But I think that's definitely a potential. Secondly, the current platforms that offer short form content, they have already proven that people not only want to consume it on their platforms, but has potential for more growth. And so YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, even Facebook Reels to a certain degree are those obvious places. So we just don't know. And this is the thing. Remember, TikTok, this is the last thing I will say about it. TikTok isn't getting banned because of the type of content that's on there even. It's because of the privacy issues and who that private information is being shared to, which has nothing to do with, do people like that type of content? They love it. I mean, that's not even the argument here. Point is, if somebody had the exact same experience as TikTok, it wasn't owned by a country that we don't agree with in terms of sharing private information, I think it could if it took off. Isn't there a platform right now that TikTok is coming up with that's like a American based TikTok platform?
Well, the TikTok, I mean, if we're going to get into the nitty gritty here, the simplest
Let's get into nitty gritty.
The simplest way to think of it is that there's this bigger company that is a
Yeah.
Chinese company. Their name is ByteDance.
Yes.
Right. They bought Musical.ly many, many years ago and turned it into TikTok. In fact, in China, there's not even TikTok. It's like Douyin or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what the name of it is. Right. TikTok is owned by an American parent company that is funded and many would argue controlled by the Chinese company ByteDance, right? And so the actual conditions. So here's another thing that can happen. Somebody asked in the chat, are they true? Is it true that they're banning TikTok? The ban is not on TikTok. It is a forced divestiture. Okay. All that said, what that means that ByteDance needs to sell the owner of TikTok. It's actually owned by an American company right now, right? And so if ByteDance was okay with that, and someone came up with the money, and there's a bunch of people who have come up with the money already. There's like Project Liberty, I think is one of them, that have said, we have the money. As soon as ByteDance gives us the word, we will give you the cash and you'll give us TikTok. It's possible that would go through. But everything that ByteDance has said, again, the company that's owned by Chinese people and sort of ultimately the Chinese government, right, has said, we're not going to sell. They don't want to sell, right? And so
Because they don't want to give away their secrets.
yeah, they don't want to give away the algorithm. They're sort of they have pride in the fact that it's going on. You could argue if you're really paranoid that they are stealing American data and that they want to use it for propaganda platform. I don't know how much of that is all true. Again, there's information that we're not privy to that these Congress people saw, right? But the important thing is that it is owned by an American company. And that what could happen is that they could sell that American company if that ByteDance wanted to. Now, why doesn't someone else just clone it? Well, an app is more than just the code.
Yeah.
It's the users, it's the creators. The best example.
It's the brand.
It's the brand.
And
yeah,
in this
huge.
case, it's the algorithm.
It's the algorithm and the app. That's
It's
on
kind
your
of
phone.
proprietary. Like
It
people
is.
have tried to replicate it, but TikTok's is the best.
I would argue that it's mostly the users. Like the vibrancy is the thing that matters, and the vibrancy comes from the users of the platform and the creators, by the way. The best example of this that we saw was Twitter. Twitter was this thing that was the center of attention. In fact, it was a horrible money-making machine, right? They made money because it was such a valuable cultural icon. I mean, think about how much of the cable news, I don't know how many people on YouTube are watching cable news regularly, but if you watched cable news, think about how much of news was just, here's a tweet, here's my thoughts about it. Here's my tweet. Here's my, like, it drove all of culture for like a decade plus, right? And then it was bought. And then there was some ideological disagreements and the algorithm had changed. And then it sort of splintered off. There's Mastodon, there's Threads, there's Blue Sky. By the way, those came up in the Supreme Court hearing, right? And all of those people going to different places made the one platform lose its vibrancy, in my opinion. Now, I think you could still argue that X is a place that most of that political discussion happens and things like that. But the reality is that it's not the same that it always was.
And so your argument or your kind of thought is if TikTok gets banned, the vibrancy is kind of lost and it's spread to all these other platforms.
Yeah,
so
some
even
people
if
are
a
going
new
to do Reels.
yeah, and that's what I mean. It might take the thing about TikTok, going back to Musical.ly, it literally took 6 to 8 years to get to this level.
100%.
So it's not gonna just
you can't underplay that.
Yeah. It's not just gonna replicate it in 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
It might take years. That's why I say we really don't know what's gonna happen, and that's why we talked about YouTube, because we're more confident in what is going to happen to YouTube and that it will benefit from the ban because there'll be some of those users going here because YouTube Shorts is like enough of value to them that they will go to it. Okay, Nucci, let's take one or two more questions because I know we got to get out of here. And go ahead, ask me.
All right. This one comes from Riss Rose too. She says, as a creator, I want a loyal following. I want my audience to know me. I'm here to make a difference. I'm not interested in the 5-second views. So my follow-up is, how would you make the transition from short form to long form? Bring your audience, build audience retention.
So you don't. I know that's like a very sad answer. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't try to do it, but the reason you don't is because if you want to grow on YouTube, you grow on YouTube. The biggest change in YouTube Secrets, our book about YouTube, and the second edition, we deleted the whole social media chapter that used to say, hey, tell your subscribers on YouTube to go to these other places. These platforms want to protect their audience, right? Like they want to like selfishly keep them there. Yeah. So they don't make it easy, number one. And two, it's also the viewers. They don't necessarily want to. Like there's definitely your core audience, but that's so small. Like for me, I think if I were to just put out a number, the number of core followers or subscribers or fans can be 10% as low as like 2, 3, 5%. Yeah. So yes, you can, but you don't. And what I mean by don't for YouTube specifically is because you can grow that audience again on YouTube. I would argue an even better audience, more aligned, and a audience that not only was subscribed for the right reasons, for the type of content you want to create, but will be with you potentially for years, if not a decade plus. Because remember, YouTube is all about intention. You go there, you put something in the search, you find a whole bunch of stuff, you pick the best ones or one, right? And then maybe you go there again, you see that same creator put out another thing that's like along the same lines of what you were searching for, and you watch another video. And you go like, man, after 4 or 5 videos, I like this creator. I'm going to subscribe to their channel. Now, if it's YouTube Shorts, it's almost a replication of TikTok, so we're not going to talk about that. But that's why I say you don't get them to go over there. If you really want my best advice, you go all in on YouTube. Understand how that platform works. Understand how the algorithm works. Understand what is kind of the user behavior on there, and start from zero. It really is. Now, if you have to, okay, if you don't want to take that answer, which by the way, it's not one or the other, it's a little bit of both. Yeah. You tell them you're on the other platform and you tell them why they should go over there. Don't just tell them to subscribe to your channel. Tell your loyal audience, tell the whole audience, I'm creating content because of this, and this is why I think you should go over there. The biggest mistake when you do tell people to go over, you just simply say, go to this other platform and subscribe to my channel. You have no. By the way, that's the number one way to get someone to subscribe when you're on YouTube. So for example, for this channel, I don't just say, hey, you guys, subscribe for more videos. Everyone does it. And sometimes you get more subscribers if you've added enough value in that video or other videos. But for me, what I do is this. Subscribe to this channel if you're a creator looking to crush it on YouTube and want to know the best tactics, strategies, and ways to make money on this platform. You should subscribe because I put out videos that help you do that. Yeah. Then you're like, oh, shoot, that's exactly what I want to do. Versus if you do get a subscriber to subscribe because you just simply say, yes, I want to subscribe, and that person doesn't care about that stuff, they were just following you, because that happens. By the way, that happens on TikTok. They just follow because you say to follow, or because it's like part of the user behavior, and then they get a suggestion to your video. It can actually hurt you, because if they don't watch that video, this is why you do want to think about your video, right? Topic and takeaway. Is the theme on point? Does it all align? It can actually hurt you on the YouTube algorithm. Yeah. Because they're not watching the content they suggest to you. So next time you go onto YouTube, the algorithm won't suggest your content, is going to suggest somebody. So you really want to be discerning about who subscribes to you too. This is why I still say very bluntly, don't get them to follow over there. But if you do, make sure they're subscribing for the right reasons.
I actually have a question for you too, to follow up with that, right? I think a lot of, like, if you have an established audience on a short form platform, the reality is if you're looking to hedge your bets right now, it's going to be more than just starting a new YouTube channel from zero or even growing it, right? So like, if let's say, I mean, I know it's going to be different for different people, but if you had to speak in generalities, if you were going to go from TikTok and you wanted to hedge your bets in short form while you were doing long form, what would you do, and how would you balance those things out? Because I know you've seen so many creators over the last 2 years that you've interacted with looking to balance those things. And I know we talked about Vlogging Academy and its ability to be sustainable as a side thing while you're doing something else, right? And maybe that's a good way to start from zero. But what should you be doing in the meantime when you are maybe not feeling guaranteed that your TikTok videos are going to get views?
you were the one that actually gave me really good insight on how to do this. The first thing is this: what TikTokers are actually doing is the right thing, because TikTok's going to get banned by saying, hey, TikTok's getting banned, but I really love still doing this, so I'm uploading to YouTube Shorts. Definitely go subscribe to me there if you're going to be uploading YouTube Shorts.
Yeah.
While at the same time, start thinking about long form content. This is why vlogs are the best way to start doing long form if you're still doing YouTube Shorts, your old TikToks on YouTube, because it'll be an extension of the TikToks. It's not going to be like the same thing as your TikToks.
Yeah.
You're adding more personality. So when you, like, for example, I always bring it back to food. What's like a common food thing that happens when somebody's a travel food TikToker? They talk about, these are the 10 best places I ever ate in Tokyo. And they go through all 10 things in 60 seconds. Okay. Say you're uploading to YouTube as a YouTube Shorts. Your long form, I wouldn't actually say is all 10 things in this mega long video. Pick one of those places and do a vlog about that place, where you literally take them in a more intimate nature, where you're like looking at the menu and you're looking at all different ingredients. You're looking at the ambience of the place. You're like, say, hey, today I'm like starving, so I'm probably going to order everything. And then you talk a little bit, like, oh yeah, the lady that works here, she's so sweet, blah, blah, blah. And you're giving your opinions, and then you get the food and you're really like showing different parts of it. See, that's way more personal.
Yeah.
That is a vlog.
What are all the things that you wished that you had known before you went into the restaurant? That's your perspective, is what people are showing up for.
By the way, it could be a mukbang vlog. So
Yeah,
rather
very
than
true.
like emphasizing the restaurant, it could just be you like doing a talking to the audience while you're eating this one dish at this one place.
Yeah.
It's not replicating the YouTube Shorts, right? It's like complementary.
Yes.
It's an extension, or it's just one piece of that whole thing. That is the mistake people make. They think, I'm going to do the top 10 places I ate in Tokyo as a YouTube long form, thinking because they watched my TikTok that was also the top 10, they would watch my long form YouTube. It probably isn't going to be the case. And I'm not saying this because like I think that. It's because creators tell me that.
Yeah.
TikTokers tell me, hey, I did the exact same thing, but longer form. It's like, no, they wanted to watch that on TikTok because that's the way they watch TikTok over there. On YouTube, they are more relaxed.
Yeah.
It's like totally different in that, and that's what I would say. Or, you know what they'll try to do? They'll do the vertical version of it. So vertical version of a long form.
Oh, yeah.
So they just extend their TikTok on YouTube. So it's still in vertical format, and they're not as ADD about the editing. It's not punchy, and it's just extending it to be more than 1 minute. Oftentimes it could be like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Same mistake. They don't want that. They probably want horizontal. They probably want a different experience. And I think this is benefit for both them and you. They want to know you more. They want to know your opinion. They don't just want surface level. They want to go a little bit deeper. That would be my advice. If you're going to start uploading your short form content, your TikToks to YouTube Shorts while doing long form content. This is why I think vlogs, because it's a little more casual, it's a little more relaxed, works better, and it's just easier for TikTokers.
Yeah.
All right, one more question and we're going to get out of here. Quick one.
I think you already touched on this, but who benefits and who wins from this the most, from the TikTok ban?
Oh man, this could be like a whole can of worms. But the quick version is this. I don't truly know, but I believe for sure Instagram, Reels, and Facebook will definitely be a huge beneficiary, maybe more in the short term. YouTube definitely benefits a lot. And I think who loses is the creators.
Yeah.
I think more important than like who benefits, it's creators. This is why I'm telling creators, you need to go to wherever you're going to go. And if it's YouTube, do it right now and start uploading. Don't wait for the full on ban or when the app finally crashes and burns and doesn't work anymore. And you're kind of like trying to like hope and pray
too
people
late
jerry rig. Too late then. You got to do it right now. You just don't know where it's going to go. But if you want to be the type of creator that gets discovered for what you care about and what you want to create, and has a relationship with your audience that goes beyond like what the algorithm is feeling, and have the ability to connect so they come back to your channel, like you said, and watch you for years to come, YouTube is the way to go.
Agreed 100%. Start now.
All right, you guys. Peace.